Superman Legacy. So that's the official title for Superman. It's supposed to come out in 2025. It'll be the movie that kicks off the DC universe. The next movie to come after that should be the Batman film titled The Brave and the Bold.
I don't know. I'm just not as excited to watch shows for this stuff. You know?
We need to clearly maintain the difference between main continuity stories and what he's calling DC Elseworld stories.
Ooh, welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
And we post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're going over some DC news.
3, 2, 1.
Action. Seemed like you almost forgot the countdown there.
No, it couldn't be me.
Yeah.
So anyway, Aaron, James Gunn,
Andrew,
just earlier today posted a video detailing a bunch of news for the new DC Universe revamp. That it came out, I think, at 3 o'clock earlier today, which, to be clear, today is January 31st, Tuesday. And so this episode won't be coming out same day, but we are discussing it immediately after the fact. Super exciting to finally get some details on this, even if everything's not exactly what all of us might have imagined. Just to finally get some answers on the direction for the new DC universe is such a blast. What did you think about it overall?
Yeah, we've been speculating like how this is all going to go about and how what movies are going to come out, what shows are going to come out. We've talked about like what you would do specifically, what I would do specifically. And now we're kind of getting a little bit of answers of how it's actually going to be done.
And we have a list of exactly what's going to be contained inside what is planned right now. And we'll go over that for you guys, for listeners, if you haven't heard yourself or if you want to recap.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just dive right into that.
Okay.
And then we can kind of give our thoughts about each of those.
So just for broad strokes, a big thing that Gunn said at the beginning of this was that he thinks that we need to clearly maintain the difference between main continuity stories and what he's calling DC Elseworld stories, which is a perfect example of that is going to be Matt Reeves' Batman. It takes place in the Elseworld, or some have called it the DC Dark Label. It's an alternate universe, self-contained, and does not affect the main continuity of their universe. So he's going to clearly define the differences between these, but we do know for a fact Matt Reeves is the Batman, which just recently got confirmed to have a title. The sequel will be called The Batman Part 2. Those movies are in the Elseworld, separate continuity.
Very creative. They probably thought long and hard about that one. Huh?
What should we call it? But we are going to have a whole slate of projects now in the main continuity, starting with finishing off the current continuity, which means we're going to get Shazam, Fury of the Gods, then we're going to get The Flash, which Gunn said is going to reset the universe. A lot to be contained in there, but that's all the information we have for now, is that it's resetting the universe, whatever that may mean exactly, we'll come to know soon. But then we're going to have Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and we're going to officially start the new universe, as we should.
We'll also have Blue Beetle.
Yes, Blue Beetle, excuse me. I think maybe that comes out in October, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's before Aquaman.
Yeah, but when we finish the current run and begin what's actually going to be fully created under the helm of James Gunn and Peter Safran, we're going to be starting with, in terms of movies, we'll be starting with Superman Legacy. So that's the official title for Superman. It's supposed to come out in 2025. It'll be the movie that kicks off the DC universe. In terms of movies, that is going to be followed by The Authority, which is just this team of characters that, kind of like the Guardians, I imagine James Gunn is fond of because they're lesser known. They were originally created by an individual who then had the rights to those characters bought by DC, so they were not originally created for DC, but they are now an own property. The next movie to come after that should be the Batman film titled The Brave and the Bold. And this movie is going to star a new person as Batman, not Robert Pattinson, not Ben Affleck. And to be clear, the Superman film will star a new, younger individual as Superman. And from what I understand, that's taking place in year 2 of Superman in his career. The Brave and the Bold, however, also is not going to start out at the very beginning, because we're going to start out with the Bat family. Gunn described it as like basically jumping right into an introduction to the Bat family. So we're going to have Damian Wayne as Robin, which comic fans might know that's usually after the third Robin. I consider him the fourth Robin. He comes after Dick Grayson, then Jason Todd, then Tim Drake, then Damian Wayne. So maybe Gunn is either starting with Damian Wayne, which is Batman's son, as the first Robin, or he's going to introduce a whole Bat family, Batgirl, all kinds of people that already exist in that world. Maybe Dick Grayson's already Nightwing. So a lot to be unpacked there with that news, but it's exciting to see Batman and Robin finally on screen together again. And then wrapping up the last two movies, we'll have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which focuses on Superman's cousin, Supergirl. And then we'll have Swamp Thing, he described as a horror film, which will be super interesting to see a superhero movie market as a horror.
Both of those seem like they might be a little bit more on the dark side, like Supergirl with like that internal conflict of having to see her world, Krypton be wiped out, and then Swamp Thing being marketed more as like a horror film. So we're going to see kind of like different tones across the movies, which I think is nice.
We see completely different styles, which would be awesome. I think that Gunn likes to have his style. So although he'll probably want a continuous connection throughout, he'll probably let directors kind of have their run, which will be cool. The Brave and the Bold is inspired by Grant Morrison's comic book run on Batman, one of the most famous and beloved of all time. And Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is inspired by Tom King's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow comic book, which Tom King's like a legendary comic book author as well. So it's described here, Supergirl, it says that while Kal-El landed on Earth and he found his found family there, Supergirl floated through space, with her world destroyed for a very long time. And before finally arriving on Earth to meet her cousin. So we're going to see, like you said, maybe like a darker story. I mean, that's kind of an ordeal for her to have gone through. So I'm very excited for the movies. But we also have TV shows to line up for you guys. So we're going to have something called Creature Commandos, which I do not know a lot about. But James Gunn did say that... so this is an animated show. And he did say that something interesting about their universe is going to be that characters move back and forth between the animated and live action mediums. So they might have the same voice actor play the role in live action, and they kind of are in the same continuity. So that'd be like if you watch Justice League War, and then that showed how the Justice League got together, and then you watch Justice League the Snyder Cut, and it was all those same people had voice acted in Justice League War.
All a part of the same story, rather than it being like the animated universe and then the live action universe. It could be both. They're going to intersect with each other.
This is super unique. And what do you think about it?
I feel like that's very interesting. I'm excited to see that. Now, I don't know anything about these characters, and I'm not overly excited for any of the TV shows, really. I feel like TV shows are kind of hit or miss with this kind of stuff, especially with like a big universe. I feel like I'm forced to watch them because I have to stay up to date on the universe, but I don't necessarily want to watch all of them. Like with the Marvel shows, like there's like one or two that I actually like, and maybe only one that I would really rewatch, but with all the movies, I enjoyed all the movies and I want to watch more of them. Like, I don't know if I want that many TV shows.
It gives me faith that they're coming out on HBO Max, because they have done such a good job of like just decimating the game in TV shows. Like just recently, The Last of Us, The House of the Dragon, what was the Lord of the Rings show? They had Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power shows doing really beloved by fans. They had another one, HBO Max, Peacemaker came out on HBO Max, right? Mm-hmm. So like every show they put out has been beloved by audiences. So that gives me some faith, but I was very disappointed to hear some of these projects were shows instead of movies. Yeah. So we have a few others.
The main one being which one?
Green Lantern. Lanterns was the main one that really crushed me, which I'd love to see as a movie.
When we first watched the announcement, you were like, let's go. Like, that's awesome. I'm excited. And then we were talking and you realized it was a show and you're like, screw that.
Sometimes my brain like skips over things that people are saying.
Oh, for sure.
So I just hopped right past the fact that he said TV show. And then when
all you heard was lanterns.
And I was like, I jumping out of my seat. But when I heard it was a TV show, it's, TV shows have a lower budget, and especially for something like this with lanterns where you're dealing with like interplanetary space cops. I mean, I believe he said it's going to be a terrestrial story, so it'll all be Earthbound. But still, like with their power set and the kind of situations they encounter, it would just be so much better to be on a movie budget. But who knows? I mean, The Last of Us looks great.
I mean, yeah, like you said, HBO does a good job of producing high quality movie or shows.
They put a lot into their shows, for sure.
I don't know if Last of Us is a good comparison, though, because Last of Us doesn't have a lot of visual effects. They're doing a lot of practical.
Yeah. They're working with the giant screens, like volume and stagecraft kind of stuff for some of the exteriors effects. But yeah, they are definitely even writing the story in a way that keeps it more grounded.
What are some of the other shows that they're coming out with?
So they're also going to be coming out with Waller, which is going to be focused on Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. So we're already getting to
Do we care about that?
I don't particularly. I love Viola Davis, but
yeah, for sure.
And Amanda Waller's honestly a really cool character from what I've seen of her in animated content. But I've never been very excited by her live action appearances. I think that
feels like kind of like an Agatha.
Like I think the interesting thing though about the announcement of Waller is we're seeing that Viola Davis is coming back.
Is she?
Yeah. So anybody from the past DC universe could be coming back if they wanted to, if they can bring her back.
Like you said before, like the Flash is the restart, but then Aquaman comes out and he was talking as if like that's the first step.
Yeah.
So like, is Jason Momoa still Aquaman?
I kind of wish he would they would do a new universe and maybe cast him as Lobo. I'd be fine with that. Yeah. But I think they realize they have such a talent on hand with Viola Davis and she's still willing to come back. So I think which
is wild, right?
Yeah. I think they feel like it's a waste to not utilize her, and that's kind of where this comes from. But really, if anything, this should be basically like Task Force X, Suicide Squad. Like it shouldn't be like Waller, if you ask me. Yeah. But
do we get to see Black Adam come back in that show?
Well, I mean, if Dwayne Johnson wants to happen, maybe he can bully the studios again. But we're also going to have a Booster Gold TV show, which I guess fans have been clamoring for. I'm not one of the fans that have been clamoring for this, but Booster Gold's an interesting character, super cocky guy who has to do with time travel. He's interesting, but I know that it's the type of character that I feel like James Gunn will glom onto. So then we have the Lantern Show, which we already discussed. And we have Paradise Lost, which is also a TV show that's going to be focused on Themyscira, the land where the Amazons are from in the fictional DC universe and where Wonder Woman hails from.
But no Wonder Woman, right?
It doesn't seem like
I would doubt that they're going to introduce Wonder Woman in a TV show.
Set place before Diana's birth.
Yeah, so like, why do I care?
Series will explore the political disputes in Themyscira as different Amazons try to seize power. Does not really sound like something I would sign up for.
No, like that.
Why not do like a political show about Themyscira? Themyscira is awesome. Amazons are super cool. Why would I want to see like them, the political aspect? I want to see them fight.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like a lot of characters that aren't as well known that they're kind of launching the DC universe from, which I don't know. Does that get people excited that aren't like big comic book fans? I don't know. Maybe, right?
I mean, even me, I don't know if I could be considered like a big comic book fan, but I read comic books regularly every night. And
well, even you're a big fan of the characters in general. Like you watch all the animated movies and shows that have come out, like it's a big part of your life. Like, are people outside of that much dedication to these characters excited about all of these sub-characters that they're introducing?
But what I was going to say was even me, who is excited about like all these things that maybe the general public doesn't go into superheroes as much as I do, in a sense. I'm disappointed in some of these announcements because I'm like, why would you choose to do The Authority when you could do Martian Manhunter or Hawkgirl or a Wonder Woman movie instead of Paradise Lost? Like I mean, I love all these smaller characters too. They're great. They're interesting. The main one that I'm happy about is Swamp Thing having a live action movie, and the fact that it's horror is awesome. But some of it to me is just priorities. Like my priority would be with not Damian Wayne, but with Dick Grayson. And if we're doing a year 2 Superman, why does Batman seem like he's on year 10? Like, why is he on his 4th boy wonder. As like if Superman's year 2, why put Batman early on and have Dick Grayson? I would like to see that relationship evolve over movies rather than.
Do you think they're having an older Batman because they have a younger Batman in the outside of continuity and with Matt Reeves' Batman?
I don't feel like that necessarily needs to play into the decision. Maybe it does, but
because like you don't want too much Batman fatigue, especially if they're kind of at the same point in their career, you know.
But James Gunn described what he's doing as an 8 to 10 year plan, and what he described that as their phase 1, right?
Basically. Yeah, so they're starting like too late.
Yeah, so I wouldn't start with like an older Batman and then you have 8 to 10 years more of movies. Like what you're gonna have.
Technically, this is a younger Batman. I mean, the last Batman we saw has been doing this for 20, 30 years.
He's like 50.
You know?
But yeah, I don't know. I would like to see all of them younger generation and like building them up, like for us to really get those relationships under wraps. It's cool. I'm glad to see the Bat family. I won't take it away from them that I really have wanted to see Batman and Robin or any iteration of the Bat family on screen, the big screen, for a long time. And if they show like a couple other people too, like the dynamic Batman, Alfred, Batgirl, Robin, like I'd love that. Applaud them for that. My favorite member of the Bat family, the extended Bat family, is Dick Grayson as Robin and Nightwing. So I would have loved for it to be him in that role, but I think that going with the Grant Morrison run is something that fans are going to be really, really excited about.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
similar to what you said. Like, I don't know a lot of these characters at all, because I'm not as big into all of the DC comics and shows as much as you have been. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about these.
I think it's fair.
And a lot of them kind of seem like team up movies.
Yeah.
You know, and like
trying to get a lot of characters in, which is good too.
Yeah.
But I think that it's fair for you to not know yet. I mean, this is the first announcement. We're still waiting on a lot more information, right? So like
who's the cast?
Yeah,
who's the directors?
We need cast members, exactly. We need all the people that are on it. We don't really know much about the plots yet. And James Gunn said he has an 8 to 10 year plan that him and Peter Safran are working on. But what they're giving us is basically their version of Marvel's Phase 1. And it's not even the whole thing. Because what was that? 3 or 4 movies and then like 3 or 4 TV shows. That's not even their whole first section of their plan. And they're clearly, he keeps hinting that they're building towards something. So maybe they're angling towards a villain. That could be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with Phase 1 though, with Marvel, we got 5 movies, and that was it.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. But like with this, we're already getting a bunch of projects, you know, and like we just saw how Phase 4 of the MCU went with a bunch of projects. Like it had great moments, but it had a lot of average, kind of maybe a little below average moments.
Everyone feels so obligated to make all these TV shows, and I really do not understand why.
No, like putting all that money, effort, and time into making better movies.
I think the idea is it keeps them relevant if they're putting out like a new episode of something every week.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
people
social
never stop
media
talking
age.
about it. Yeah.
Like you just have to always be putting out content, you know, volume is king. Like that's how it is with our podcast. Like we have to post something every single day.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing basically is the shows basically are long trailers for the movies that they want to make a lot of money. Because I can't imagine the shows make them a lot of money. We've talked a lot of times about how these streaming platforms calculate money. I'm sure that they're making good money on the end of subscriptions, but I'm sure their catalogs would be whether these shows are on it or not. How big a difference does it make, really?
At least HBO has ads on it, right? Like
you can pay to have without ads, but yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like they're making money off of those ads. You know, like Netflix doesn't have that. So like how are they justifying paying $400,000 for 2 Knives Out movies? Like, I don't know. But that's something that we've talked about a lot before. But yeah, I'd rather see more emphasis on the movies, even if we get less stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just not as excited to watch shows for this stuff. You know,
this is separate, but I think it was like $350 million for Knives Out. But did you hear I think they also paid Daniel Craig like $100 million. and Ryan Johnson something like 100 to 300 million to direct.
Addition?
I believe so. And the reason being that now with these movies coming out straight to streaming, they don't make any money on the back end. They don't make royalties. So like if they were to put it into theaters, they're going to make royalties off like on-demand rentals, Amazon Prime rentals, back in the day, DVD sales, DVD rentals. But going straight to Netflix, there's none of that.
Yeah.
So they have to pay the stars a lot more. The contracts have been evolving to incorporate.
So it seems like a lose-lose besides the people who are like in it.
Seems like a good win for Daniel Craig, to get $100 million check.
But everyone else, it seems like, and maybe even for him, it's like a lose too, because maybe he could have made more money the other way with royalties and all that stuff.
Made it over a longer period of time, Who knows? He's probably taxed a lot when you get $100 million check, so maybe the royalties work out better for him.
And they don't even have the rights to the first Knives Out, so you have to go on Amazon and pay to watch
it there.
That's
so ridiculous.
You know,
I can't believe, I'm so shocked that they didn't have it on there.
If they could have gotten that and released it like a few weeks before Glass Onion came out, like so many people would have watched that.
Yeah.
You know?
But we're getting sidetracked.
Yes, we are. So let's back to DC.
But they've got a lot of stuff coming out. James Gunn said something too that interested me, which was that he wants like a continuous universe for their movies, shows, live action and animated, and video games.
Yeah, they kept saying video games, or he did.
Which I thought was interesting. I mean, they have games. The big one that I think of right now is Suicide Squad versus the Justice League, because that is made by Rocksteady. Yes, Rocksteady. And it is a spiritual successor to, or maybe not even spiritual, maybe just even a successor to the Arkham series, because it takes place in that same universe. Mm-hmm. So it probably doesn't fold in as early as that, but it's a total game changer, especially like I didn't even but glad you caught that. But it's interesting because will we have to play video games now in order to understand what's happening in the continuity, because that'll affect a lot of people if we did. I imagine it'll just be supplemental, right? Which means what's the point? In a sense, of it being connected, that's true. Right. If it doesn't really,
if it doesn't have an impact or add any value to it, then why do it? But the first thought that I have is like, you can participate in the universe. How cool is that?
Yeah.
But like you said, like, what if you don't want to play the video game?
I think
you missing out on something? Like that's kind of like it goes to the Marvel TV shows where it's like, do I need to watch this to know what happens? Well, some of them, no, not at all. Okay, why do I watch it then? You know, like
it's like if it's like the importance of watching WandaVision, like how important that was to understanding Doctor Strange, then it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
or even Loki, I think that's gonna kind of play a big role, kind of moving forward.
With Kang, yeah.
You know.
So we'll see what effect games might end up having on animated content too. A lot of people don't have like the motivation to watch animated content.
I'm excited for that.
I love it,
especially to see them like go back and forth. Like we kind of got to see a little bit of a taste of that with What If for Marvel, where some of the actors reprised their role and did the voice acting in What If. So we kind of got a taste of how that would be, but What If was kind of like a side thing. Like it was very much standalone. You know, like you definitely didn't need to watch it to understand anything else. But I think a lot of people were kind of turned off by the animation, even though the animation was stellar.
It was really, it's just a different format. And, it's like the same thing like anime. Like anime just tells stories, comic books just tell stories, but people will look at anime or comics or cartoons and just say, it's not for me.
Yeah,
so
there's just different mediums.
It's another barrier to entry. So I think that...
But maybe it's like, hey, we're appealing to more people.
Yeah.
It just depends if you like this medium, we have that medium within our universe. Come watch it.
It just depends how they choose to tie it in. Is it integral? Is it supplemental? Is it somewhere in between?
It's an interesting balance game that they're going to have to play.
He's talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, animated movies, animated shows, like live action video games. That is a lot. So I'll be excited to see what video games, if James Gunn is having a hand in writing video games, I'll be excited to see what they have coming up. But for now, I'm excited for Suicide Squad versus the Justice League. That game should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about and related to the news? Is there anything we missed from that James Gunn mentioned in this video?
I think that's pretty much it.
You can check this out online. It's him talking about the first phase of their DC universe, which is going to be called Gods and Monsters. And he doles out a lot of information, but there's still a lot they have up their sleeves. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'm just curious where Batman fits within Gods and Monsters. You know?
He's a monster.
What a savage. I will say that I'm rooting for Aquaman to do very good in the theaters, since I have that on my team for our box office draft. So let's go ahead and kind of plug that. That was episode 50. We each drafted 5 movies. At the end of the year, at the end of 2023, we're going to total all of the box office revenue for each of those movies, and whoever made the most money as a team wins. And I have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on my team.
I've been more and more regretting that I didn't draft The Flash, because I think The Flash is too big to fail. I think they spent like $800 to $1 billion on it, and I think there's no way that they're gonna let that movie not make like at least $800 million. Yeah. I think that they're gonna force it to that somehow.
I think because of all the stuff that's gonna come after this, people are gonna go watch it to figure out, like, how do we get to this next point? I
could have got that in the 5th round too, which is I think probably looking back, the biggest mistake that I made.
Yeah, I mean, you have Barbie.
I'm still very hopeful for Barbie, but people have made me nervous about my decision.
Yeah,
but I would like
Good.
to.
I'm glad other people made.
I wanted to have that. I want to have that eye. Like, people are like. Like, I want people to be like, wow, that made way more money than I thought it did. And I want to have that vision.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that pans out for me.
High risk, possibly high reward. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see how that all finishes out. I'm excited to see all this DC stuff. I'll be around. I'll definitely watch it all. We'll see how long the TV shows hold my interest. But yeah, we'll see what other news we get. I'm excited to see who the actors are.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest hurdle for them to cross now. I mean, James Gunn's hard at work writing Superman Legacy, mm-hmm. So that's a big thing, is to get that plot, to get that that foundation set with Superman. But the next big hurdle is going to be, who is going to be Superman, who's going to be Batman.
That's coming out in 2.5 years. That's pretty quick.
I'm excited.
Is the Batman Part 2 coming out before then? And they had a lot of time to kind of get the ball rolling for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Batman Part 2 should come out in 2024. That gives them 2 years between Part 1 and Part 2.
You would think, but
not much new news lately. Like, I feel like Reeves should have finished that script by now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes to write a script. I feel like these guys write scripts really fast, you know?
I feel
like James Gunn going through all these things, working on all these projects, like, seems like a lot to handle all at once.
I've seen people say that they wrote a script in a weekend, and then there are people who write it over a year.
Jeez. Could you imagine writing a box office hit in a weekend?
I have to look up to see who it was, but it was like a very successful movie. It was written in a weekend.
That's wild. Good for them. We can barely even get a podcast done in a weekend. All right, I think that we talked about this a lot.
We appreciate everyone who listened to us go on about this. I hope it was interesting to you guys, because we're so excited about this news, and we're very thankful to all of our listeners and viewers. Please make sure to share us with friends and family. It helps the show grow, and force your family members to subscribe and like our page.
Yeah, definitely. Head over to our YouTube page, Backseat Directing. We're on TikTok, Instagram, same name, Backseat Directing. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you get your podcast. If you like the show, give us a 5-star rating. That'll help bump us up the charts so more and more people can listen and kind of join this little movie, show, and comic community that we're building. Thanks for the support, and that's a wrap.